Going live. I'm going live. Hey, back. I'm back. Okay, today I will have a double header in chess principles and Horizon. Okay, my camera is not working, but that problem is going to be short-lived. I got a camera today. Should be on its way. Razer Kaio. So the black screen issues that you see on YouTube should be fast or long. Okay. Anyway, I have the book here on what we're really after. Jacks. Here we go. We find ourselves in principle 18. Reject rejection. Keep going back, stronger, not weaker, because we will not allow rejection to beat us down. We'll only strengthen our resolve. To be successful, there is no other way. That was Earl G. Graves, founder and publisher of Black Enterprise magazine. If you're going to be successful, you're going to need to learn how to deal with rejection. Rejection is a natural part of life. Get rejected when you aren't picked for the team, don't get the part in the play, don't get elected, don't get into the college or graduate school of your choice, don't get the job or promotion you want, don't get the sale, don't get the raise you wanted, don't get the appointment you requested, don't get the date you asked for, don't get the permission you requested, or you get fired. Get rejected when your manuscript is rejected, your proposal is turned down, your new product idea is passed over, your fundraising request is ignored, your design concept is not accepted, your application for membership is denied, or your offer of marriage is not accepted. Rejection is a myth. To get over rejection, you have to realize that rejection is really a myth. It doesn't really exist. It's simply a concept that you hold in your head. Think about it. If you ask Patty to have dinner with you and she says no, you didn't have anyone to eat dinner with before you asked her, and you don't have anyone to eat dinner with after you asked her. The situation didn't get worse. It stayed the same. It only gets worse if you go inside and tell yourself something extra like, "See, Mother was right. No one will ever like me. I'm the slug of the universe." You apply to Harvard for graduate school and you don't get in. You weren't in Harvard before you applied, and you're not in Harvard after you applied. Again, your life didn't get worse. It stayed the same. Minus the bucks you spent, of course, on the grad school application. You haven't really lost anything. And think about this. You've spent your whole life not going to Harvard. You know how to handle that. Truth is, you never have anything to lose by asking, and because there's something to possibly gain, by all means ask. Of course, also lost the time that you spent filling out the application, but I guess we can just ignore that. SW, SW, SW. Whenever you ask anyone for anything, remember the following: SW, 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 which stands for some will, some won't, so what, someone's waiting. Some people are going to say yes, some are going to say no. So what? Out there somewhere, someone is waiting for you and your ideas. Simply a numbers game. You have to keep asking until you get a yes. The yes is out there waiting. My partner, Mark Victor Hansen, is so fond of saying, what you want wants you. You just have to hang in there long enough to eventually get a yes. 81 no's, 9 straight yeses. Because the program has so dramatically changed her life, a graduate of my self-esteem and peak performance seminar was volunteering in the evenings to call people to enroll them in an upcoming seminar I was conducting in St. Louis. I made a commitment to talk to 3 people every night for a month. Many of the calls turned into long conversations with people asking tons of questions. I made a total of 90 phone calls. The first 81 people decided not to take the seminar. The next 9 people all signed up. He had a 10% success ratio, which is a good ratio for phone enrollments, but all 9 enrollments came in the last 9 calls. What if she had given up after the first 50 people and said, "This isn't working, not worth the effort, nobody's signing up"? But because she had a dream of sharing with others the life transforming experience that she had had, she persevered in the face of a lot of rejection, knowing that it was indeed a numbers game. Her commitment to the outcome paid off, instrumental in helping 9 people transform their lives. If you're committed to a cause that evokes your passion and commitment, keep learning from your experiences, and you stay the course to the end, you'll eventually create your desired outcome. Never give up on your dream. Perseverance is all important. You don't have the desire and the belief in yourself to keep trying after you've been told you should quit. You'll never make it. That was Tani Odell, author of Backroads, Oprah Book Club. Just say, next. Get used to the idea that there's going to be a lot of rejection along the way to your goals. Secret to success is to not give up. When someone says no, you say, next. Keep on asking. When Colonel Harlan Sanders left home with his pressure cooker and a special recipe for cooking Southern fried chicken, he received 1,009 rejections before he found someone to believe in his dream. As he rejected rejection over 1,000 times, there are now 18,875 KFC outlets in 118 countries and territories around the world. One person tells you no, ask someone else. Remember, there are only over 5 billion people on the planet. Someone somewhere sometime will say yes. Don't get stuck in your fear or resentment. Move on to the next person. It's a numbers game. Someone is waiting to say yes. Chicken soup for the soul. Success consists of going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. That was Winston Churchill, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The fall of 1991, Mark Victor Hansen and I began the process of selling our first Chicken Soup for the Soul book to a publisher. We flew to New York with Jeff Herman, our literary agent at the time, and met with every major publisher that would grant us a meeting. All of them said they weren't interested. Collections of short stories don't sell. There's no edge to the stories. The title will never work. After that, we were rejected by another 20 publishers who had received the manuscript through the mail. After being rejected by more than 30 publishers, our agent gave the book back to us and said, "I'm sorry, I can't sell it for you." What did we do? We said, "Next." We also knew we had to think outside the box. After weeks, racking our brains, we hit on an idea that we thought would work. We printed up a form that was a promise to buy the book when it was published. It included a place for people to write their name, address, and the number of books they pledged to buy. Over a period of months, we asked everyone who attended our speeches or seminars to complete the form if they would buy a copy of the book when it was published. Eventually, we had promises to buy 20,000 books. The following spring, Mark and I attended the American Booksellers Association convention in Anaheim, California, and walked from booth to booth, talking to any publisher who would listen. Even with copies of our signed pledge forms to demonstrate the market for our books, we were turned down again and again. But again and again, we said, "Next." At the end of the second very long day, we gave a copy of the first 30 stories in the book to Peter Vegso and Gary Seidler, co-presidents of Health Communications Inc., a struggling publisher specializing in addiction and recovery books, who agreed to take it home and look it over. Later that week, Gary Seidler took the manuscript to the beach and read it. He loved it and decided to give us a chance. Those 100 of Next had paid off. After more than 140 rejections, that first book went on to sell 10 million copies, spawning a series of 250 best-selling books that have been translated into 43 languages with worldwide sales of 500 million books. In those pledge forms, the book was finally published. We stapled an announcement to the signed forms, sent them to the person at the address on the form, and waited for a check. Almost everyone who had promised to buy a book came through on his or her commitment. In fact, one entrepreneur in Canada bought 1,700 copies and gave one to every one of his clients. This manuscript of yours that has just come back from another editor is a precious package. Don't consider it rejected. Consider that you've addressed it to the editor who can appreciate my work. You need to simply come back stamped, not at this address. Just keep looking for the right address. That was Barbara Kingsolver, best-selling author of the Poisonwood Bible. 155 rejections didn't stop him. When 19-year-old Rick Little wanted to start a program in high schools that would teach kids how to deal with their feelings, handle conflict, clarify their life goals, and learn communication skills and values that would help them live more effective and fulfilling lives, he wrote a proposal and shopped it to over 155 foundations. He slept in the back of his car and ate peanut butter on crackers for the better part of the year. But he never gave up on his dream. Eventually, the Kellogg Foundation gave Rick $130,000. That's almost $1,000 for each no he endured. Since that time, Rick and his team have raised over $100 million to implement the Quest program in 36 languages and more than 30,000 schools in 80 countries around the world. 3 million kids per year are being taught important life skills because one 19-year-old rejected rejection and kept on going until he got a yes. In 1989, Rick received a grant of $65 million, the second largest grant ever given in U.S. history, to create the International Youth Foundation. What if Rick had given up after the 100th rejection and said to himself, well, I guess this isn't just supposed to be? What a great loss to the world and to Rick's higher purpose for being. He knocked on 12,500 doors. I take rejection as someone blowing a bugle in my ear to wake me up and get going, rather than retreat. That was Sylvester Stallone, actor, writer, and director. When Dr. Ignatius Piazza was a young chiropractor fresh out of school, he decided he wanted to set up offices in the Monterey Bay area of California. When he approached the local chiropractic association for assistance, they advised him to set up shop somewhere else. They told him he wouldn't be successful because there were already too many chiropractors in the area. Undaunted, he applied the next principle. For months, he went from door to door early in the morning until sunset, knocking on doors. After introducing himself as the new young doctor in town, he asked a few questions. Where should I locate my office? What newspaper should I advertise in to reach your neighbors? Should I open early in the morning or stay open into the evening for those who have 9-to-5 jobs? Should I call my clinic Chiropractic West or Ignatius Piazza Chiropractic? And finally, he asked, when I hold my open house, would you like to receive an invitation? If people said yes, he wrote down their names, addresses, and continued on. Day after day, month after month. By the time he was done, he had knocked on over 12,500 doors and talked to over 6,500 people. He got a lot of no's. He got a lot of nobody homes. He even got trapped on one porch, cornered by a pit bull, for a whole afternoon. But he also received enough yeses that during his first month in practice, he saw 233 new patients and earned a record income of $72,000 in an area that didn't need another chiropractor. Remember, to get what you want, you're going to need to ask, and say next, 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 until you get the yeses that you're looking for. Asking is, was, and will always be a numbers game. Don't take it personally because it isn't personal. Some famous rejection. The girl doesn't, it seems to me, have a special perception or feeling which would lift that book above the curiosity level. From the rejection slip for the Diary of Anne Frank. Everyone who's ever made it to the top has had to endure rejections. You just have to realize that they are not personal. Consider the following. Angie Everhart, who started modeling at the age of 16, was once told by a model agency owner, Eileen Ford, that she would never make it as a model. Why not? Redheads don't sell. Everhart later became the first redhead in history to appear on the cover of Glamour magazine. Had a great modeling career and then went to appear in 27 films and numerous TV shows. Novelist Stephen King almost made a multi-million-dollar mistake when he threw his Carrie manuscript in the garbage because he was tired of the 30 rejections he had received. We're not interested in science fiction which deals with negative utopias, he was told. They do not sell. Luckily, his wife fished it out of the garbage. Eventually, Carrie was printed by another publisher, sold more than 4 million copies, and was made into a blockbuster film. In 1998, Google co-founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page approached Yahoo and suggested a merger. Yahoo could not have snapped up the company for a handful of stock. But instead, they suggested that the young Googlers keep working on their little school project and come back when they had grown up. Within 5 years, Google had an estimated market capitalization of $20 billion. At the time of this writing, Forbes reported Google's market capitalization at $268.45 billion. Even the first Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, was rejected by 12 publishers before it found a home. Because she didn't give up, J.K. Rowling is now one of the richest people in England with a net worth near $1 billion. Steven Spielberg applied and was rejected 2 times by the prestigious USC Film School. He ended up at Cal State University in Long Beach. He later went on to produce and direct some of the greatest blockbuster movies of all time: E.T., Lincoln, Saving Private Ryan, Jurassic Park, Jaws, The Color Purple, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, ultimately giving Spielberg a net worth of $3 billion. 27 years later, after Spielberg had become famous, USC awarded him an honorary doctoral degree, and 2 years after that, he became a trustee of the university. Susan's story. Twice in her life, Susan Mabbett's entire future was changed by generous acts of people who didn't even know her. First time it happened was just days after she was born. Her birth mother did what may have been the only kind thing she could have done for her at the time. Instead of abandoning her in the grassland to die, placed her in a crowded market where she knew that she would be found. That simple act saved her life. A woman named Monica found her. Monica had virtually no money and already had 8 children to care for, but she couldn't turn away from Susan's cries. She picked her up and cared for her, and for weeks she brought her back to the market, hoping to find her mother. Ultimately, she knew she never would. As poor as she was, Monica somehow found a way to make Susan her knight. While Monica's love for her saved her life and gave her the hope that she could grow up, become anything she desired, she also knew firsthand the realities of growing up as a girl in the Masai Mara region of Kenya. Most girls were married off to older men while they were still girls. They get pregnant at an age when their young bodies were not meant to bear children, and many didn't survive childbirth. For these girls, there was no time for studies. Their days were filled with walking hours just to fetch filthy water for their family. When they got home, new chores awaited them. A tiny fraction of girls in Kenya who were lucky enough to get an education seemed like the chosen few. Too few were able to escape that vicious cycle. Yet from a young age, Susan knew that education was her only way out of a life that the vast majority of women in her village had known for generations. And her only hope was Kisaruni Secondary School, first and only boarding school for girls near her age. That first year, the newly built school, funded by Cynthia Kersey's Unstoppable Foundation, to learn more about it, you can check out the successprinciples.com/resources, announced that it could accept only 40 girls from the entire region. So Susan studied hard in primary school, and because she was at the top of all her classes, she was confident and hopeful she would be accepted. She applied to Kisaruni and waited eagerly for the response. The last day of primary school, her heart was pounding because she knew she'd get the news of her future that day. When her teacher told her that she had not been accepted to Kisaruni, it felt like a death sentence. The night before the doors were to open at Kisaruni that year, young Susan lay awake, unable to sleep, knowing that somewhere 40 girls were excitedly lying awake anticipating their first day at school. They were probably preparing their black and red school uniforms and looking forward to meeting new friends. But she had been condemned to a life of poverty in her village. Susan was not willing to let go of her dream for a better life that easily. The next morning, she set out on foot toward Kisaruni, miles away on a dusty path. As she approached the school, she could see the 40 lucky girls in their bright uniforms laughing and playing. As Susan arrived, everyone turned to look at her. The principal approached her and asked why she was there. Though Susan was terrified, she bravely said she had been turned down by the school but needed to hear it directly from her because she simply couldn't believe it. The principal gently explained that they had room for only 40 girls. That meant 40 beds, 40 desks, and 40 chairs. Unfortunately, Susan was the 41st girl. She tried not to cry, tried to be brave, but the tears rolled down her dusty cheeks. She could not imagine how she would be able to walk home. As she gathered her strength to leave, 40 girls began to surround her. One girl shouted, "Please don't make her go away. We'll move our beds together." Another girl pleaded, "I'll share my desk with her." Another shouted, "I'll share my books with her. Please don't make her go." The girls surrounded her in what felt like a circle of protection, not allowing her to move. She was stunned. The girls' generosity that day allowed Susan to attend school that year. And later, when the Unstoppable Foundation and a generous donor heard of Susan's bravery, how she had refused to believe she couldn't go to school, they paid her tuition, making it possible for Susan to continue her studies and become Kisaruni's 41st girl. Let Susan's story of perseverance in the face of rejection inspire you to never count yourself out. Believe you will succeed, do everything in your power, and never give up. Okay, that was Principle 18, Reject Rejection. Next time, I will be covering Principle 19, use feedback to your advantage. That should do it for today's edition of Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Please remember to support the show. Like, comment, share, subscribe, donation to the summer show. If you'd like to see or hear more from Jack, you can go to successprinciples.com. And then, yes, any and all support that this show should receive is appreciated, whether it's a follow on TikTok or a sub on YouTube. So thank you for any and all support that this show has received or will receive. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a special weekly rendition episode of Horizon Zero Dawn. Watching. Have a splendid rest of the day.